I went in it for was to, better myself personally.
Well, it's important for you to continue to keep those in mind, and then, take what's still working, take what you still value, and continue with that, and then drop the things that no longer do it for you. Um, I mean, if you say, for example, you choose, a certain service to offer, right?
Hmm.
Well, maybe such that the further on paper it looks pretty good, right? You saw these other folks that were doing the same thing. Wow, they're making pretty good living, at least at least according to what they say. And you go down that path yourself, and the deeper you get, elbow deep, shoulder deep, head, forehead deep, you're like, man, this kind of sucks. It's like, maybe this really isn't for me. Then you move on to the next thing. But I mean, that's just one path to get to where you really want to go. Because ultimately, if we, I don't know if you're familiar with NLP, but neuro linguistic programming, they have
Yeah, yeah.
chunking, right? So you can chunk down, you can chunk up, and typically when you get so mired in details and you're so frustrated by that, and like you say, you're waiting for that, you're focusing so much on getting the next customer. Well, you're chunked pretty low, right? So at
Mm.
that point, it's time to start chunking up. Well, what am I doing this for? Why did I get this into this in the first place? Why am I continuing to do this? And you chunk higher and higher, and then you realize that there are more things that are available for you to get the things that you really wanted. So, Tony Robbins talks about ends values and means values, right? I mean, the means values is how you get there. So maybe you use, for example, some people use real estate as a means to get to their ends, which is they want more freedom for themselves,
Yeah.
right? They want family. But then there are other means that will allow you to get freedom, right? And say, for example, maybe you don't invest in real estate, maybe you invest in the stock market, or maybe you become an angel investor, or maybe you become an author, right? I mean, similar type things where you can those means can get you to the ends of that freedom that you're really looking for. So, I mean, that's something that definitely as an entrepreneur, you want to continue asking yourself, you want to continue evaluating. Is this the way you want to continue going, just based on what I've been doing in the last 3 4 months, a year or whatever, and relate it back to what you really want.
Okay. Just moving on slightly from that particular topic. When it comes to now big companies, how do you now tailor your advice towards top Fortune 500 companies?
Well, it's the same type of thing. I mean, again, the fundamentals never change. The themes never change. You need to make money. You want to make money with as little investment as possible. How are you doing that right now? Okay, so I mean, there may be some other complexities you got to think about. Say, for example, international tax laws, or like in issues like that. I mean, those get down into the kind of the get chunking pretty low there, and that of course from company to company. But ultimately, it's the same sort of thing that you have to ask every single person now. Whereas before, in a smaller business, maybe you're only asking one or two people those questions, right?
Yeah.
Where are you now? Where do you want to go? What's keeping you from where you want to go? Well, that's the same. Those are things same things you have to ask for a larger company, except it's typically you're going to work with more people in that case. Now, preferably in a larger company, and it's the same type of thing, same type of psychology working with a smaller company, but it's more apparent in a larger because you have more people to deal with. But you want to work with somebody that has the clout, has the influence to be able to influence the other people that you might have to be working with.
Yeah.
We call it the circle of influence, essentially. So if you preferably if you're working with, if you look at the a hierarchy, an organizational chart for a large company, you want to work with the person at the top that ultimately signs the check, not necessarily literally signs the check, but has the ability to say yes or no. That's what we call the decision maker, right? So if you're working with the decision maker right from the get go, and say, hey, this is what we're looking to do. This is how it falls in line with your strategic initiatives, what you want to accomplish ultimately in the long run for where you are in your role in the business. It's going to take you a lot further than working with the person at the bottom of the organizational level. For example, the custodian
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
There's no power there. I mean, if you need something to get done, you talk to the custodian, you talk to the front clerk, the secretary, or you talk to a low level manager. Then, I mean, if you really need to get things done to push a project through or to have accountable, you really those lower rung folks are not going to get you what you need. So the higher the organization you can start with, the further along in the project in getting things done, you're going to be able to go.
So, do you find the mindset different from family to the mentality of family 500 family businesses and 500 Fortune companies is when you give them your advice, so to speak, and you look at the problems that they have. Is there much resistance, or I mean, you take me through it. How do they normally embrace what you tell them?
I mean, that varies from place to place. Like for me, I mean, I don't work with anybody that doesn't know who I am.
Wow. Okay.
Like, and this is across the board. It's not just getting the client, but it's even maintaining and get the client for the long term, and even selling that client more of your services and products, and even getting that client to refer their peers to your services. I mean, it's a constant positioning game where you have to consistently be in a position to get the things that you want, namely to get your business further along. Even though you're helping their business, you still want to position yourself as the go-to, the person they want, the person or company they want to work with,
okay,
and continue to take your direction. So, I mean, part of that is positioning yourself so that you are the preferred expert, especially if you have. There's nobody in these days, and even if you think you have the most unique idea, you're not the only one that's doing that.
Okay, I mean that goes nicely into what I was going to ask you next about, because you do you help companies market as well, and you know how has it changed today? Because I mean, with the advent of the internet, 10 years ago, you couldn't do anything the way things are now. So how do you advise people to go forward? And I mean, you just mentioned there, you may have one thing, but somebody else has already got that idea out there already. So take us through that.
Well, I mean, ultimately, you have to decide what it is that makes you unique. Even if you think you have a completely unique idea, again, just assume that you don't, and think about, well, what is it that makes me unique such that somebody would choose me versus my competitor or somebody else that may have a similar solution, not necessarily the exact solution, or just doing nothing in general, right? I mean,
right.
So the decision for somebody to say no, they continue to do what I'm doing, is still a no to you.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that you can do to make it such that they decide to work with you? And a lot of that comes down to education. I mean, that's the biggest way that I know of, and that I continue to use, and I use for my clients to get them to differentiate them from their competitors, or even just differentiate themselves at all, is to provide that upfront value form of education, so that they are positioned in a way that when somebody gets that in their mind that yes, I do need something like this, then you're automatically in a position of, I got to talk to this guy, right?
So so basically you're mirroring exactly what your customer needs and wants, basically.
Mirroring well, I mean, sometimes they don't know what they want. Sometimes no. Right? Let's say you have a completely new. So, for example, one of the services that I provide to my clients is, you mentioned earlier, it's called Autopilot Web Events.
Okay.
And what is a webinar service where I essentially help them in the strategic creation and planning of a lead generation or sales webinar, and then have method of automating that entire process, so they don't even have to think about it. They just all they have to do is collect leads and the sales. They say cha-ching, in their emails if someone bought something. But a majority of folks, even though I've been living in the internet marketing space for a long time, and I even in the corporate environment, I use webinars. I mean, a good 80-90% of businesses out there still have no idea what those are. So they don't know. So they don't know what they don't know. So that's part of my talk is that if they don't know, then I have to educate on that. And then, what I educate them on and how I educate them also plays into, where they're at, right? If we look at, you're probably familiar with the 4 stages of competence, right?
Yeah.
So there's the incompetent, they don't know what they don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I know that the people that I'm targeting don't know what they don't know anything about Weber, if they've never heard of them, then I have to educate them on that. But if they get to the stage of competence, where the conscious competence, where they know that they don't know, then I have to talk to them in a different way. Then you get to the next level where they are consciously competent. They know that they know something. Then I have to speak to them in a different way there.
Yeah.
And then you get folks in the last one. This is the most difficult. Is that they are unconsciously confident, right? They just they've been doing the things they've been doing so long that it just flows. They don't even know what they do. It's kind of it just subconsciously, they just keep on doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
But the folks that are in a hypnosis where they're like, oh, I read that, right? So I have to speak to those folks differently than the other 3, in order to make my product or service more valuable to them. I have to speak their language.
So I mean, with the advent of the internet, I mean, this is like paraphrasing away from the question I had before, whereby if they don't know how, I mean, they must have been struggling pretty bad, because like the way things, the path for least resistance is the internet in terms of money. So what would they? What, yeah. What?
Again, I mean, it's very difficult. There's no silver bullet. It's very difficult to take these platitudes and apply them to every single business, or even family-run businesses or Fortune 500 businesses. The internet is not necessarily the path of least resistance.
Okay.
Look at, you go to these places, all these forums or whatever, and someone that calls themselves a local marketer or an internet marketer, and you see how much is really in their bank account, and most of those folks don't have any. Right?
Yeah, true.
I mean,
true.
I'll tell you what. Now we talk about path of least resistance. I'll say path of least resistance in terms of getting onto the medium. I mean, that's also questionable, because you could just pay $500 and get into a newspaper, or get an interview on the radio, whatever. The internet is just another medium. It's all.
Yeah.
It's like a newspaper. It's like television. It's like radio. It's like billboards. It's just another way to get your message and your offers out there. Now, I'm fairly geeky myself. I mean, I grew up pretty geeky. I mean, I'm not a very good programmer, but I know programming, and I can get to all that. But I used to build my own computers and stuff too at work. I'll tell you, I mean, that stuff was fun for me, and for me it was easy, right? But if you take you say internet to my father-in-law, who has his own business, he starts blanking out. I mean, now he's a lot better nowadays, because he's got email, and I mean, it's become so ingrained that he started getting into it. But there's still a lot of folks out there that they get cold white palate. To that. And for them, there's some folks that are making money hand over fist, not even on the internet at all.
True.
Maybe they're
true. Yeah.
Maybe they're doing it through direct mail. They're doing it through other means. So even though it's very hot, there's a lot of different ways there. It's very attractive, because it's for people that are willing to use it. It's a way to kind of level the playing field, right? If you go to Pepsi's website versus somebody else's, an online entrepreneur's website, you could really tell whether one is a big company or a small company. That's one thing about the internet. It's kind of like an equalizer in that sense. But there is barrier to entry on the internet also.
Right. So I mean, so would you say, in your own estimation, that the internet sometimes is overhyped as the path of just creating a business, and the money's just going to flow in straight away just because you just mentioned your name on Facebook or something to on that line?
I mean, the internet is